Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Wednesday morning, although it is quite chilly. In fact, raining out today, but hope everyone is doing well. So, for those who are new, my name is Mitch Kanyara, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, I do know during this session, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, but identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have the Forex team, the RP and the back office. So if you have any questions or queries, feel free to ask them in the chat box, or feel free to converse with anyone there in the chat box. We'll really also appreciate, at least you will be able to get a response towards that either at the end of the session or as the session is actually going on. But remember, if you do end up liking these sessions, or at least you want to be notified the next time these sessions will come on, make sure you do end up dropping a like button, hitting that subscribe button, and make sure you ring that bell notification. At least you will be notified. So let's jump straight into today's pair. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list. So today, our watch list and yesterday is pretty much the same. As you can see, yesterday we were looking for selling opportunities on the US dollar, the Australian dollar, and we're looking to mix and match that with all the pairs on the buy side. So you can see that the euro, the Swiss franc, the British pound, the yen, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the Canadian dollar. Now, it's a similar situation today, still focusing on those two currency pairs. In terms of the indices, we can see both indices are now on the buy side. Yesterday, we had the NASDAQ on the sell side, but today it has moved to the buy side. So it's pretty much the similar watch list, except for one change. However, that being the case, that means that we will be focusing on the exact same pairs. So no pairs that are there for review. So what we'll do is we'll look at a few screenshots that we didn't manage to get. Before then, we will start focusing on today's pairs. So we'll start off the US dollar pairs and mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side, then do the same thing with the Australian dollar. Now, in terms of fundamentals also, quickly to note, we did have some Australian dollar fundamentals that did come out today, bringing in a lot of weakness that we were hoping that would come in yesterday, but we'll end up having a look at how we can take advantage of that today. We do have some euro fundamentals, not necessarily that much, but it seems that most of the fundamentals are going to be coming out during the US session. So you can see we have some big news also for the Canadian dollar, some interest rate news. So we do end up expecting some volatility, especially also with the Fed interest rate decision as well later on at 10 for the US dollar. So we do end up expecting some volatility on the US dollar and the Canadian dollar pairs during the US session. So before we do focus on today's pairs, let's have a look at a few screenshots. So there were not that many, but first of all, we'll start off here with Dan Bickett. Dan, you did manage to have a very nice buying opportunity. In fact, multiple buys here on the NASDAQ. Seems that once it reached a specific level, you're waiting for the price to actually come back and test that area. Seems that you saw those aggressive buyers coming in, and you did end up taking a buying opportunity. We can see already the stop losses are already back at your entry point. So if this price is continuing to go up, you would know you ended up making some good money. So very well done. And remember, we did point out that the NASDAQ did move to the buy side. So very, very well done on that trade, Dan Pickett. So also next, we did get Steve Canams. Happy to see a screenshot here. This is your first screenshot for this year, but happy to see you have managed to send in a very nice selling opportunity on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Can see very nice sales there. The price is already coming down in your favor. And in terms of your placement of your stop loss, very, very well done. You have put it above the sellers who started pushing to the downside. So very good job on that. Can see you're targeting all the way down here, but you can notice that there are certain problem areas that you could find. You can see there's an area where buyers did end up reacting here. So if the price approaches that location, you can be able to do some sort of trade management, either closing some of your position, moving your stop loss lower. You do not necessarily want the market to actually come towards your entry, then you find it going all the way back up. Usually that has happened to a number of us. We'll be speaking from experience. So it's always better to manage some of your trade, or at least do some sort of trade management. At least there are multiple ways to do that. But very well done on this trade, Steve, and keep up the great work that you're doing. So remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. You should find our contact details in the description of this video. And remember, you can just send them in to us via WhatsApp, and we will showcase them for you. So let's start off with today's pairs. So right now, we'll start off with the US dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side. Then we'll move on to the Australian dollar and do the same thing. So first pair we'll start off is the euro against the US dollar. So for the euro against the US dollar, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, it seems that earlier in the morning, during the Asian session, the price did come down quite aggressive. We did have this particular area that we said we watch out for, but the main buyers area was all the way down here. But it seems that the big boys were not actually interested in this, because you can see they were mainly interested in it during the Asian session. But if you take note of the markets, once the US session did come in, or sorry, the London session, so around 10 o'clock or so, you can see hardly any activity. The whole day, the market did seem to just be ranging between these two levels, hardly gone anywhere, even though we can see the price did spike down towards this area, and that was at 4 o'clock during the US market open. But we haven't got the buyers coming in just yet. Although we have gotten one piece of the puzzle, meaning that at least you can see how aggressive the sellers were coming down, making aggressive lows. But now you can clearly see they've slowed down and it's transitioning from a very aggressive downtrend to some sort of range. So in this situation, we will still be looking for a buying opportunity. The main thing we'd want to see is signs that the big boy buyers are actually going to be coming in. So we'll focus on the same areas that we did have yesterday, aggressive buyers area right there. You can see we have a conservative area right here in the middle and our main sellers area at the top. So the main thing we want to see, at least the first thing that we've gotten, is the seller slowing down, which is good. We are not yet necessarily making any new lows, but we need to see some signs of big boy buyers coming in. So what we'll potentially see, if we see the sellers attempting to come down and we see the buyers coming in aggressive, maybe if it holds within this particular area, or it could even come back within here, that's when we should be able to look for a buying opportunity. If not, and we do end up missing our trading opportunity. So let's say, for example, the price is actually able to continue going to the upside and we see the buyers coming in aggressive. Remember, can end up waiting for that pullback to come in for us to look for those potential buying opportunities. But one thing also to take note of, it also depends on what area it does reach. So you can see we have some small sellers area right here where the price does seem to be holding. You might find the price going to the upside, might not necessarily hold that, could also have to just pull back down towards this area. Those are also some things to watch out for. But overall, the bias here is to look for buying opportunities. Let's wait to see some signs of big boy buyers coming in for us to do that. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next US dollar pair. So not much activity happened with most of the US dollar pairs. Here we have the US dollar against Swiss franc. It seems is the trade, Steve, you didn't manage to end up grabbing. You didn't manage to, you can see that areas that we had pointed out to look for selling opportunities. Now, early in the morning, the price was within this particular area. We did say that we wanted to see whether or not the price would get all the way to the seller's area. And we can see during the London session, that's exactly what happened. The price managed to go all the way up. You can see at 11 o'clock it was at the top, but it did not necessarily start moving until the US session. But you can see signs that the sellers had started coming in, signs of big boy sellers before the market actually started to continue to the downside. You can see we did end up approaching this first problem area. So overall, let me just remove this level slightly. We'll still be focusing on the same areas to look for those selling opportunities. So right now, the fact that we're within an area where they're buyers, it's not a good place to look for your selling opportunities just yet. So let's wait 1, 2 things. I think I can actually put that level back. So be aware that you could end up getting, due to the fact that the price was holding within here and we get the price breaching, maybe you could end up getting the price coming back within this location before we do see the price coming down. That's an option. Or you could end up waiting for the price to breach and hold below for us to look for selling opportunities on this. But be aware, this is just one area, but there's also still the possibility. Remember, the price can still come back all the way to the top. If they did push down within here, there's a possibility that they need to still come back towards that area. But this is just a level to definitely watch out for, because if it's reacted from there before, it could potentially react from there again. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, moving on to the next pair we do have, excuse me, right here is the British pound against the US dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. It is still the same situation. I think you're noticing for most of the US dollar pairs, they did not necessarily take off, but we are starting to see certain good signs. You can see the sellers who are coming down very aggressive. Wanted to see some sort of probe. Initially, during the London session, we did see some buyers coming in, but the price continued coming down lower. So at that point in time, there was no trading opportunity just yet because the price did seem to be holding below this area. But you can see today during the Asian session, that seems to be changing, where the price does seem to have breached this area to the upside and seems to be holding above. So overall, we'll still be looking for buying opportunities. The story is the same, pretty much focusing on the same areas. Right now, we are starting to see buyers coming in, but you need to be careful about who was the seller who actually pushed down. I know these are concepts we teach within the masterclass course, but you can clearly see these are the sellers who managed to come down lower. So even if you're seeing some buyers here, don't start chasing buying opportunities, not realizing that you're very close to an area where there's sellers. So in this situation, let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price potentially coming back, testing this area. Those sellers might still end up reacting. If they don't necessarily react or give much of a reaction, you could potentially get the price reaching to the upside. There could be a potential buying opportunity within this particular area, although that one is not necessarily the best, but it depends on how the market actually reacts within that particular area. So wait to see what ends up happening on the British pound against the US dollar, but overall, definitely we will be looking for those buying opportunities on this pair. So we see what ends up happening as we move on to the next pair we do have. Now here we have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. This pair did work out quite well. Remember, we did point out that overall, we were in a huge range bouncing between these two levels. And the fact that the price was not able to break and hold below this area, this was definitely a location you do need to manage your trade. So you can see during the London session yesterday, price did manage to give us a very nice probe within this area, came back in and was holding below. And if you do look at the time, that was around 11 o'clock during the London market open, and can see the price did manage to come all the way back down, even though it did end up spiking down within this particular area. If you do note, that was around 5:30 when the market did manage to do that. But it seems the US big boys were more interested in taking this price back up a bit higher. Coming back to this particular area, and you can see today again, the Asian big boys did manage to actually try and take it to the downside. So overall, the level is still the same because you can clearly see we're still respecting the rate. And that's the reason why we always encourage focus on the market structure. If the market structure is a trend, then you know there's certain characteristics of a trend. If it's ranging, then you know there's certain levels you definitely need to watch out for. So you can see if you just took a sell and you were all aiming all the way down here, not realizing that this was a problem area, you can see clearly it did end up giving some problems. But overall, the bias here is still going to be looking for sells. We focus on the same areas. Right now, we could be entering into some sort of smaller range. So maybe it could end up giving us another pullback within this area before we're able to look for sells. But remember, if we are able to get the price actually breaching this area to the downside, and remember, we need the price to actually hold. If we do end up seeing the price holding below and it's not just a probe, then we definitely will be able to continue looking for selling opportunities on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So I hope the game plan is clear on the US dollar against the yen as we move on to the next New Zealand dollar pair. Right here, we have the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation. It seems that the US dollar pairs did not really take off yesterday, but that does not mean today is not the day that they'll move, because we have seen that there is a lot of fundamentals coming out during the US session. So yesterday, you can see we're looking for buying opportunities. The price was still on the pullback. It managed to get all the way back down towards the buyer's area. So if you can note the time, that was at exactly 4 o'clock. So during the US market open, or at least 4:30. During remember, news events come out at around 4:30. So the price did manage to actually attempt to come up to the upside, but you can still see we do seem to be holding within some sort of small area here. You can see there's some sellers who keep on holding within the market there. So overall, we'll still be looking for buying opportunities and focus on the same three areas that we did have. So aggressive buyers area all the way down at the bottom. We have the conservative area in the middle. We have the semi-conservative area at the top. So remember, if we do want to make sure that we can end up grabbing a buying opportunity here, what you might find that the market might end up giving some sort of small pullback. But remember, right now, you're within an area where there's sellers. So just because the buyers are coming up, don't just start buying. If you look, the best place to look for a buy, it's either at the bottom here, or at least due to the fact that the buyers have reacted from here multiple times, you might end up finding the price actually reaching to the upside, maybe giving a pullback within here and doing something similar to that. So this could potentially give multiple opportunities. But remember, watch always, as we keep on mentioning, buy with buyers, sell with sellers. That will definitely always give you a higher probability. So even though we have the main buyers area down there at the bottom, you can see there's an area where buyers have also reacted from here. It does seem to be in some sort of range. So if it's ranging, the best place to look for your buy is at the bottom of the range. So hope that is clear on the game plan of the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. As we move on to the last US dollar pair we do have. Here we have the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. The trade worked out quite well, okay, where you can see the price did end up giving us more of a pullback, managed to get all the way back up to the main seller's area. And if you do note the time, for exactly 4 o'clock, you just grab a selling opportunity there. You can clearly see the market did manage to come all the way back down towards the buyer's area. But it's no surprise that the buyers are reacting within this location. We do also note the time, that was at 5:30, the New York Stock Exchange. then you can see the price coming back to the upside. But overall, we could still be in some sort of range or potential range bouncing between these two levels. So we'll still be looking for selling opportunities on the US dollar against Canadian dollar, focusing on the exact same areas that we did have yesterday. So in this situation, let's wait to see what ends up happening. Similar situation, if we're in a range, we could see the price coming to the upside, potentially looking for a selling opportunity, or if we are able to get the price breaking this range to the downside. Remember, when ranges are broken and the price falls below, those actually give some very nice trading opportunities. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on this. But overall, our bias is definitely going to be looking for sales. Because if you, one thing to also take note of is look at the way the last time when the buyer was here, how aggressive he pushed to the upside, just huge candles going up before he managed to start struggling. Then the seller came down very aggressively. But now look at the next attempt of the buyer. How is the buyer coming in comparison to how he came up the first time? It does seem to be slowing down. That's the reason why overall we will still be looking for selling opportunities on the US dollar against Canadian dollar. So hope that is clear. On the on the US dollar pairs, as you can see, we'll mix and match the US dollar pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to move on to the Australian dollar pairs and do the same thing. So we'll start off here with the euro against the Australian dollar. So here on the euro against the Australian dollar, our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. Can see, for this. The three areas that we had pointed out are right there, but today we have adjusted them slightly. So overall, since we were looking for buying opportunities, nothing really much happened yesterday. You can see based on where price was, whether needed a pullback to come to the downside or the price breaking and holding above. Now you can see that seems to be what happened during the Asian session today. Remember, we did have some Australian dollar fundamentals. Then you can see around 3:30 or so, that's when the news did come out. Can see the weakness that did come in on the Australian dollar. So overall, we will still be looking for buying opportunities on this. Can see we've managed to make a new high. Right now, we do seem to be pulling back within an area of interest. So we'll see what ends up happening within that location. Overall, we know that we'll be looking for buying opportunities as long as we are holding above this particular area. Now, remember, even though that's the case and this is the main buyer's area, you can clearly see where the buyers did manage to push up from today. This is also definitely an area that could give us issues or some potential area where we could end up looking for some buying opportunities. But remember, that must also be obvious for a lot of people. So what you might end up finding is the price actually, maybe this level doesn't work and you see the price coming to the downside, could end up seeing the price looking as if it's reacting within this location. And when you see that, most people start jumping in on buys. And if they do that, most people will have their stop losses just below this area. And if that's the case, you could easily find the price coming down, inciting all those people and stopping all those buyers out. Then you could find some sort of price action signal within that area to find the price going to the upside. So just watch out for certain situations like that. We've seen that many times, and that's why overall we know we'll still be looking for buys as long as we're having our buyers area here. But just be aware that the buy could potentially react from this particular area as well. But right now, since this is the first location, since we haven't even got there, let's wait to see what kind of reaction we get within here. Let's wait to see the sellers slow down. If we see the buyers showing some sort of excitement or some sort of reaction here, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities on the euro against the Australian dollar. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next Australian dollar pair we do have. Seems that the Swiss franc pairs really did work out yesterday, but can see yesterday overall bias here was to look for selling opportunities. Can see where the price was. We get a small pullback. We're hoping to see the price coming back within this area. Unfortunately, just came back in some small sellers area who seem to have really held the market. You can see after that the price did manage to come all the way down. But during the US session, you can clearly see the price was just holding within this particular area. Nothing much happened until the Asian big boys had something to do with it. And you can clearly see that's where we got the price reaching to the downside. So you can see this illustration that we did have yesterday where we wanted the price to breach to the downside and hold below. That's something similar to what we want today. So the fact that the price has already managed to breach this area to the downside, we are getting a pullback coming in. So let's see if the price is going to get some sort of reaction within there. If we do see the price holding below that area, we could potentially find a very nice selling opportunity. But remember, this could be obvious to everyone that right now it's looking for a sell. So if everyone starts jumping in on selling opportunities within this particular area right here, most people will have their stop losses here. So just watch out for that. where you could easily find that the market could easily end up coming back or at least spiking within this particular area, stopping a number of people out, then you find the price coming to the downside. So watch out for certain situations. You can clearly see there are sellers here who didn't manage to push the market down. So most people will be feeling safe if they have their stop losses above there. So don't be surprised if the price probably attempts to end up spiking within that area. And if you see the sellers coming down, then you definitely know all those people have been stopped out. There are very nice sells there. You could potentially look for some selling opportunities. But for right now, let's just be patient. Don't just jump in on sells just because we're within a support and resistance area. Let's wait to see if the buyer slow down for us to look for those potential selling opportunities within the support and resistance area. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the Australian dollar against Swiss franc, but we can clearly see it has taken a while before we breach this level. So if we do get the price holding below, then we should find a very nice selling opportunity here. So moving on to the next pair that we do have, this is the British pound against the Australian dollar. Similar situation. There was only activity during the Asian session yesterday. Once the London session came in and the US session, there was hardly any activity. You can clearly see the market was just ranging between these two levels. Hardly any activity, no big boy buyers or big boy sellers. It was only until the Asian session that came in where we did have those Australian fundamentals, and you can clearly see the push to the upside. So overall today, buyers here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. The story is pretty much the same with all these Australian dollar pairs. Can clearly see the correlation that's coming in. So overall, we'll wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming back within the support and resistance area that was breached, but also take note of the buyer who did manage to push it to the upside. So be aware, just because you're watching out for this area, you could easily find the market rather than holding here, could end up just spiking within that area before you do see the price coming back up. So watch out for certain situations, but definitely right now, the price is giving us a pullback. So let's wait to see how far the price could go to. But alternatively, if you do not find that the price could end up giving more of a pullback, there's still the option that the price could just continue going to the upside, holding it to the upside right there. If we do see the price doing that, that should give us some also buying opportunities right there at the top of the British pound against the Australian dollar. So hope that is clear on GBPUSD as we move on to the next Australian dollar pair we do have. Now here we have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the sales did work out quite well during the London session, but you can see the price was back in the seller's area. Remember, we keep on pointing out, we want to see signs that the big boy sellers are actually interested in that particular area. And especially if it lines up within one of the market opening times, it gives you a high probability of your trade working. So if you do note at 11 o'clock, what kind of reaction came in, big boy sellers, you can actually even end up seeing, compare how the way the buyers were coming up or the size of the candles, definitely the sellers showed themselves. But remember, do not chase the market, always wait for a pullback. That's why you always see based on our illustration, even after aggressive moves, we're always waiting to see if the price can pull back. So you can clearly see the price didn't manage to pull back, giving a very nice selling opportunity right there. So today, even though the price did end up reacting within this buyer's area during the US session and giving a pullback, you can clearly see it has attempted to come down again. We're back within this particular buyer's area. So overall, we definitely still will be looking for sales, but the fact that we're within an area where there are buyers, it's not the best place to look for your selling opportunity. So right here, we'll wait to see if one of two things will happen. Either this pullback will come back in all the way to the top. Remember, we could potentially be in some sort of range that could be happening within here. We do end up seeing that, we'll definitely look for a selling opportunity there. But the alternative is if the price is actually able to break this area to the downside, remember, we need to get confirmation that the price is holding below. If it does end up holding to the downside, then we will be looking for selling opportunities on this pair at that particular price. But for right now, since we're within a buyer's area, there's no trading opportunity personally for us. We do want to take the counter. It is possible, but we'll not necessarily encourage on that because remember, probability-wise, they don't necessarily always work. Yes, they might work today, but let's say out of 10 trades, you might find that they only work 4 times or 3 times. So would you be willing to take that risk? If yes, then that's okay. But for counters, we usually encourage, if you really need to, make sure you reduce your risk on those trades. So moving on to the next pair we do have is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Yesterday, bias here was to look for selling opportunities. And you can see we're within an area where the bias, but we wanted one or two things, either the bias to give us a pullback or a breach to the downside. Now you can see the problem with certain counters. If you did end up looking for a buying opportunity here, fortunately that did not work. The price kept on holding throughout the London session. It was only during the US session or so, around 5:30, during the New York Stock Exchange Open, where the price was able to break this area to the downside. And you can see the level that we had yesterday was just slightly lower. It was within here. And you can see the price did end up attempting to give some sort of pullback within that area before it ended up coming to the downside. So overall, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we'll focus on the main three areas. Aggressive sellers all the way at the top. We have a conservative area in the middle, where we did end up getting the price breaching to the downside. So right now, we want to see if the price is pulling back towards that area, what kind of reaction are we going to get from the sellers? If we see aggressive reaction from the sellers, then we could end up looking for a very nice selling opportunity. If not, we'll wait to see where the seller's reaction is going to come in. Will it come in within here or here within this seller's area? Because remember, you'll be selling within an area where the sellers or all the way at the top. But ideally, if it lines up, remember, within one of the market opening times, that increases your probability of knowing exactly which area it would be. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next and last currency pair we do have, which is the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the sell did work out, although within this area where the bias during the US session, the market didn't manage to actually break this area to the downside. You want to see the price pulling back and holding, but that did not happen. You can see it ended up being some sort of probe, but it was today, again, during the Asian session where the price didn't manage to come to the downside. Now, this one is based on a bigger time frame trade, because you can't see how aggressive the sellers have come down, but we have certain support and resistance areas where the market could potentially pull back. You can see these are major areas, and right now we're back within a very major buyer's area, and we look at what kind of reaction we're getting. So overall, yes, even though we're still looking for selling opportunities on this, be careful. We could end up easily finding the price coming back all the way till the top area right there. But overall, we'll definitely still be looking for sells based on these three areas. So right now, let's see how far the pullback is come back in. We'll wait to see within this particular problem area. If we don't see any signs with the big boy sellers, you can't see how aggressive they reacted from before. If we don't see any aggressive signs there, then there won't be any trading opportunity there. You might find the price needing to come a bit higher before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. So hope that is clear on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. As you can see, we'll mix and match the currency pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices, then have a look at gold and silver. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So aggressive sellers all the way at the top, or we knew that we were looking for sales as long as the price would hold it below this particular area. So during the London session and the Asian session, nothing much happened. There was a small buying opportunity during the London session, but there was a pullback that did end up coming in. The price bounced off this particular buyer's area. We do know the time that was at 5:30. So even though we're looking for sales, what we would have wanted to see potentially the price actually giving us a pullback, breaching this area to the downside, and when we see the price actually holding below, then we could potentially look for sell. But it seems that the price actually just gave us a probe at 5:30. The buyers really took off to the upside. I think this is where Dan, you did manage to end up grabbing a buying opportunity. I think you saw those aggressive buyers will definitely not give you some issues in terms of looking for a buy. So you didn't manage to grab that buying opportunity there. But as soon as the price broke above here, I think now that's when it would have been safe to actually switch our bias and start looking for those buying opportunities. At least at that point in time, the bias for the sell did switch. So today, overall, we will be looking for buying opportunities. We can see the areas have switched. The fact that we've reached and held above this area, we'll definitely be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll focus on these three locations, look for the buy. So aggressive buyers area down here at the bottom. So as long as we're holding above this area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So right here, as the prices continue to go up, let's look to see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback for us to look for a buying opportunity. But if not, could easily find the price actually continuing to go to the upside. If we do find the price actually holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities there. But for right now, don't chase the market. Let's wait to see if we can get some sort of pullback coming in. The buyers have been coming up, but they have been coming up quite slowly, grinding to the upside. So just watch out for that. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on here. But right now, the main thing we'll be waiting for is some sort of pullback. Now, the Dow Jones, yesterday, the bias was to look for buying opportunities. Still is today. You can see one expecting some sort of pullback within this area. The price did not necessarily come down as low, but you can see from 10 o'clock, the Frankfurt market open, we did start getting a push to the upside. Now, during the US session, you can clearly see the price was within this particular area. There was nothing yet, so you can clearly see looking for a buying opportunity within an area where the sellers is not the best idea. But once the price was able to break this area to the upside, you can see we did get a price pulling back, showing us confirmation to holding above to the upside, and there could have been a buying opportunity there. But anyway, today the bias here is still going to be looking for those buys. So focus on the same three areas, or at least over just the area slightly. So we have the aggressive buyers all the way down here. So as long as we're holding above this area, we will be looking for buying opportunities. Right now, we can clearly see we're within an area where the sellers. So we need one of two things. Either the price breaches to the upside and holds above for us to look for buying opportunities there, or alternatively, let's wait to see if we can end up actually getting this pullback coming in the support and resistance area for us to look for buying opportunities there. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. But overall, for both of those, we will be looking for buying opportunities. Now, moving on to silver. Now, silver here, our bias yesterday was to look for selling opportunities, and it is still the same situation today. Although it seems that the market was more interested in the pullback. You can see during the London session or the Frankfurt market open, we did get the price coming down, but by 11, we did get the giving, or at least the price ended up giving us much more of a pullback. Wanted to see what kind of reaction happened within this particular area. And you can see this was during the US market open and well within an area where the sellers. So I wanted to see how the sellers would come in, but once the buyers breached the upside and held above, we knew there was no selling opportunity at this point in time. So I wanted to see how the price is going to come back up. So right now, overall, we'll still be looking for sales based on the same areas as we did have, although we have adjusted the bottom area slightly to become a more accurate representation of true support and resistance. What it seems like this was just actually just a probe and it wasn't the true low of the market. So we'll be focusing on the three areas right here. Right now, we are within an area of interest. The fact that we'll put this blue line is just based on the fact that the sellers do seem to be holding within here. But majority of the times, you find that this is just there to incite people. All those people jumping in on sales, they'll just have their stop losses above here, not realizing that the main seller is right above there. So what you find sometimes happening is the price will actually continue giving more of a pullback, inciting people coming all the way actually to the main sellers before we do end up finding the price coming to the downside. Find the price breaching and holding below, we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities as well on silver. But remember, with gold and silver, if we do find the price breaching and holding above this red support resistance area, at that point in time, our bias will switch and we will start looking for buying opportunities on silver. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next and last currency pair we do have, which is gold. And the story is pretty much the same. So yesterday, bias was to look for selling opportunities, but we were within an area where the buyers during the London session, the price started giving us a pullback. Wanted to see what kind of reaction we get within this first area. Once the price broke and pulled above, no reaction whatsoever. Wanted to see what kind of reaction comes in within the next area. But you can see a similar correlation that's coming in with silver. We found some sort of small support and resistance area that is seeming like the sellers are reacting within there. But the true question you need to ask yourself is, do those look like those aggressive big sellers? And when I say aggressive big sellers, look at the way the sellers react within here. Once they get to an area, there is a big reaction within that area. And there was clues before the way the market ended up reacting. So right now, this does not really look like big aggressive sellers. And that's the reason why, even though it is a support resistant area, our bias here is probably similar situation with silver, where you could easily find the price coming back within this particular area before we're able to look for selling opportunities at that point in time. So let's see what ends up happening. But remember, with gold and silver, we're purely technical. So if the price is able to break and hold above this red support resistance area, meaning it actually ends up going to the upside rather than coming back in and holding below, it actually holds to the upside. Then at that point in time, that will confirm to us that the bias has changed and we can actually look for buying opportunities on gold. So I hope the game plan is clear on what all the currency pairs are. As you can see, we're mixing and match all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. Remember, also gold and silver being there. In terms of fundamental, we do have a number of fundamentals coming out, but it seems the most ones, or at least the main active ones, or the really high impact ones, are definitely during the US session. So we have some interest rate fundamentals for both the USD and the Canadian dollar. So we do end up expecting some good volatility on that. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I'm seeing Junior Oteni saying morning to you, Afriforex team. Glad to see you here, Junior. Karibu sana. And I'm seeing Dan Bickett, Daniel Smith, saying good morning, Afriforex team. Karibu sana, Daniel. Glad that you are here as well. So I'm not seeing any more questions, which is okay. We do at least that should give us a bit of time to analyze the markets, see what opportunities we can get, what pair is looking good, and one that will actually end up falling on your watch list. So once again, I want to thank you guys so much today for joining me today. We really do appreciate it. Found value in these sessions. Remember, the only thing that we ask for is you to drop a like on the video. Make sure you at least give us a subscribe. It's free of charge, but it does end up helping out the channel a lot. So once again, thank you guys so much. Hope you have an amazing trading day. God bless. Happy trading and bye for now. Cheers, guys.